welcome to part 10 of our tutorial, and for this video let's open the part 10 Clothe texturing.max. And previously in part 9 I just created the Clothe object for our character using Marvelous Designer, and in this video we are going to focus on creating the texture and apply a material shader for our character. So currently this view is set into a camera. So let's press letter P on our keyboard so that we can navigate in perspective view. Okay, and let's turn on the wireframe by pressing the F4 on our keyboard, and let's select the Clothe and go on to modify tab, and we are going to extract the UV layout of this Clothe, and we are going to use that UV layout as our guide to texturing inside Photoshop. And highlight this edit poly layer and apply unwrap UVW above it and open UV editor. And you may see here that I have a different UV layout other than the UV layout that we just edited in our previous tutorial. So you don't have to repeat and re-edit those UV layout to copy this one. Just open this file so that we are in the same page. Okay, so here in tools, render UV template and apply and give it a 4000 by 4000 pixels. Seam edges and render UV template, and we are going to export this one, save, and name your saved file to UV layout Clothe demo and set it into PNG file format. So I'm just going to replace mine in here and press yes, and alpha channel should be checked and press OK. And now let's close this one and close this one and just leave this open, and let's go to modify Photoshop file and open this one, double click in here, and under texture folder, under exercise file, there will be texture file texture folder, and I'm going to include this UV layout Clothe demo inside in your download link inside texture folder, so that you can skip the process of exporting that UV layout from 3ds Max. So I'm gonna use this Clothe demo, and okay, let's expand this one and right click in here, duplicate, and name it UV layout and press OK. And let's lock this layer by pressing this lock so that we may avoid by accidentally editing this layer. Okay, and I'm gonna fill this layer with a black color, highlight this one and change the color of this white to black, and control backspace. Okay, highlight this UV layout and use this magic wand. Keep on pressing this button and select this one. Okay, and select the outer space of this layer. Shift Control I to invert the selection, and select, modify, and expand our selection, and it will add another 5 pixels on it. Press OK, and as you can see here, okay, it expanded our selection. And close this UV layout, highlight this layer and apply a new layer above it. Double click this one and name it pattern and press enter. And I want to fill this with white color. Control backspace, and now let's press Control D to deselect everything. The reason that I created this layer is because that it would be much faster for us to select those Clothe pattern using this magic wand. Okay, so you just have click on those patterns to select those patterns. Okay, press Control D to select everything, or you may close this pattern and press the Control key on your keyboard and click this icon, and it will instantly select those pattern. Okay, so let's try creating another layer and name it reds, and we're going to start painting the red pattern for our Clothe. So go back to 3ds Max and let's enter in a polygon mode so that we can select a polygon. check this select by element, so that every time we select an element, we can select the whole element. Okay, select everything in here. Okay, and let's remember what we just selected in this working space, and here it is. So this is the pattern for the red garment. Go back to Photoshop and minus this selection and apply a red color in it. Press OK and can control backspace and control D to deselect. Now press Control on our keyboard and press click this icon again and go back to 3ds Max, and now select this garment, and we can see here now that this garment is the pink one. Okay, go back to Photoshop and minus selection and create another layer named pink, and of course we have to paint it with pink color and press OK and control backspace. Okay, and minus selection, and I want to fill this up with a darker pink color and control backspace. And because this is the let's take a look at this character, and this is the edges of this what you call this satin garment. This is the part that we just painted with dark pink color here in Photoshop. So here it is. Okay, and press Ctrl D to deselect. And now let's go back to 3ds Max and select this cloud pattern. So here is the cloud just at the waist area. Go back to Photoshop, select this and minus selection. Okay, and create another layer and name it waist, and I want to fill that with click this one and purple color, dark purple, and press OK, and then control backspace and then control D, and now go back to 3ds Max and select just this object, and I'm gonna expand this window. Press letter Z twice and it's gonna zoom into our selected faces, and as you can see that this selected faces has a irregular shape on its edges, and it will be hard for us to select this pattern inside Photoshop. So let's close this one, and what we need to do is clone this object, only this object. Okay, exit into our editing and let's navigate in here and use the move tool, and using the move tool press the shift key on your keyboard and move it into its x-axis, and it's gonna duplicate our object, and press copy and OK, and throw the turbo smooth and unwrap UV W modifier and enter into an element node so that we can select this whole element, and press Ctrl I to invert the selection and delete. Now turn off exit editing and apply unwrap UVW and open UV editor, and we are going to extract this only this UV layout. Tools, render UV template, and give it a 4000 by 4000 pixels as well. Uncheck sim edges, render UV template, and save, and name your file just one. I have here, I'm going to replace this one, and it should be in a PNG format, and save. And yes, alpha channel check and OK, and go back to close this one first and exit editing and delete this object. We don't need that anymore. Press letter C on our keyboard and select this cloud. Okay, and go back to Photoshop, press Ctrl 0 to zoom all everything out, and let's browse the file that we just exported from 3ds Max, and here it is. Okay, and here in layer, duplicate, and the destination should be at the UV layout cloud demo, and press OK and close. And here's the one that we just exported from 3ds Max, and so I'm gonna put that above the UV layout and double click this one and name UV layout underscore waist. Okay, and using the magic wand, I'm going to select the outer space of this layer, shift Control I to invert the selection, and close that layer and highlight this waist. And I'm gonna change the purple color into a lighter purple and press OK, and hit the Control backspace and Control D to deselect. All right, and the next thing, so I'm going to save this file first, Control S, and name your file dress diffuse demo.pst. And I already have saved a file for this one, so I'm gonna replace this one. And don't forget to set your file format into PSD and save. And OK, and OK. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to put some additional pattern design in here. So just like this one, the flowers on her satin cloth, and as well as a ornament design at this red garment. Okay, press Control O to open the file, and I'm gonna provide under texture folder there will be a source folder, and let's browse for a cherry blossom folder. And these three texture file, I'm going to provide this into your download link as well, so that you just have to browse in it and open this one. Okay, and click this one over here and press yes and close. Okay, so before doing a further edits into our layers, I'm going to reorganize this there, so that uh, we may avoid confusing our self. Okay, so I'm gonna put this above pink and highlight this one and create a folder above this one, and click that reds and click the layer inside the reds folder, and above this layer create another folder and name it pinks, and enter, and select these both layers and put it inside the pinks folder, and above this layer another folder and waist, and put the waist layer onto the folder. Okay, now let's focus only on, sorry, close, and let's focus on the pink one. Okay, so uh, highlight this layer and move this one up. Okay, and we're going to crop this and remove the white area, and double click in here, and it's gonna bring up the layer style, and under this layer let's try to drag this arrow just at the left direction, and hold the alt on your key and try to drag the other half and press OK. And now press Ctrl letter G on our keyboard, and it's gonna put this layer into a new folder, and highlight this folder. Press Ctrl letter E on your keyboard, and it's gonna collapse this layer into a total transparent layer. Okay, and press Ctrl on our keyboard and click this icon, and it's gonna select the pixels in of this layer, and of course we have to fill that with a white. Control backspace and Control D to deselect, and of course we have to delete this one and delete, sorry, okay, delete. Okay, and Control T to select, Control 0 to zoom all this out, and name this one flower. Okay, so you have to just double click to rename this layer. Okay, and now I don't want to mess up with this original layer of this flower pattern, so right click in there and duplicate, and close this layer, and this is the layer that I want to edit instead. Okay, Control T to transform this layer, and so that we can transform this, and hold the shift on your keyboard and drag and scale it down. Okay, Okay, and then press enter if you are done. And now using this move tool, hold the alt key on our keyboard and move, and it's gonna duplicate this layer. Okay, press Ctrl T, right click and flip horizontal and press enter. Now the next thing we need to do is to put additional ornament design at this part. So this part, this is the edges of the red garment. Okay, ornaments. Okay, and we're gonna use this pattern. Select everything in here and then right click, transform selection. Control 0 to zoom out. Right, and then press enter, Control 0. Drag the document over here and use this move tool. Drag over here and close this document. No, and put this layer into its proper folder. Okay, and also we want to crop this just as we did into the flower pattern. Double click in here and drag this and press OK. Control G, Control E, and now let's rename these ornaments. Okay, and open the UV layout, and I'm gonna move this layer just at the corner of this UV layout. Okay, so this corner should be exact at this corner. Okay, and now let's press Ctrl T on our keyboard to transform this and scale it down. Hold the shift key and drag over this corner. Okay, and press enter if you are done. And turn off this UV layout layer, and using the move tool, hold the alt key on your keyboard and move, and it's gonna duplicate this layer into a new layer. And move this copy and right beside the original one, and press Ctrl E on your keyboard, and it's gonna collapse those two layers into one, and repeat the process. Okay, so with this layer highlighted, press the shift key on your keyboard and select this original one, and it's gonna select all of these layers. And with this all layers selected, press Ctrl E on your keyboard. Okay, and rename. Right, and now another thing that we need to do is to put some texture in this pattern. So use this rough garment. Okay, and drag over here and press yes and close. And you may see here that this uh, scale isn't much with the size of this pattern, so we have to reduce the size of this texture. So uh, just put it below the ornaments pattern. Okay, and we have to duplicate this one. Hold the alt key and move, and put it just beside the original one. Okay, and press Ctrl letter E to merge the two layer. Okay, and we have to build a huge seamless texture with this one. Okay, right, and then press Ctrl T so that you would see the exact sizes of this layer. Okay, and I'm gonna duplicate it a few more times. Okay, and let's press Ctrl T and try to scale it down. Okay, and press enter. Okay, and now I'm gonna duplicate it, I think few more times. Control E, and now duplicate. Control E. Okay, and then let's just put and cover the area where the red garment sits. Okay, and press enter. And now with this layer highlighted, double click in here and name it rough garments. Okay, so with this layer highlighted, let's press the control key on our keyboard and click this icon just beside the reds layer. Okay, and it will instantly select the pixel of this layer. Okay, and we let's apply a mask on this layer. Okay, and we can now see here that we did a great job, and the scale is just working fine with the dimension or the sizes of this garment. And with this layer still highlighted, let's change its blending mode into a overlay. All right, and then save. Okay, so that's the basic of creating a diffuse color for our texture. So uh, let's select all of this folder, hold the shift key and click the other one, and it's gonna select all of this one. Okay, and press Ctrl G on our keyboard, and it's gonna move those folder into under one folder, and name this one diffuse color. Okay, now I'm gonna open my original file that I'm using for my character. Okay, so I'm gonna save this one and close. Okay, close and double click and browse for that folder. So this is the one that we are currently working on. So just open this one instead of this demo. Okay, okay, and this is my original texture file that I just created, and as you can see here that I have two folder. This waste this is the layer for the diffuse color, and I have here a bump folder. So the bump folder is basically the black and white version of this diffuse folder. Close this diffuse folder and open that one. So I'm gonna explain this to you later on. So uh, for the meanwhile, let's go back to 3ds Max and apply this texture onto our object. Okay, and then press F4 on our keyboard, and then press letter M on our keyboard. Okay, and or press this icon, and in here we have to create two types of garments. The other one for the red one, which is the rough garment, and the other one should be a shiny uh, what you call this shiny satin or silk garment. So in here in this material slot, let's click over here standard and choose multi sub object and press OK, and OK, and set the sub object into 2. Okay, so this should be the silk garment, and this should be set into a uh, rough garment. Okay, so name this dress. Okay, and I'm gonna duplicate this shader into here. Click and drag and copy and press OK. All right, and now click this one and name this satin. Go back to parent, click this one and name this red garment. Okay, and go back to parent. And just remember this material ID that we are assigned into this different shader. Okay, the satin is in material ID 1, and while the red garment is in material ID number 2. So we have to set the same material ID for the cloth. Okay, so we are still selected this object load. So with this object selected, let's highlight the edit poly layer and press yes, and let's enter into element mode so that we can select this whole element. And with this surface with this polygon selected, let's go on to polygon material ID section, and this is currently set into material ID number 1. But the thing is, the material ID number 1 is in a satin shiny uh, garment. So we should set this into material ID number 2 based on this material ID on our shader. Okay, red garment, material ID number 2, so it should be set into material ID number 2. Okay, and now press Ctrl I on your keyboard to invert the selection and give it a material ID number 1. Okay, okay, so all set and ready for to apply to put some texture on it. Okay, exit into I editing and highlight this turbos modifier. And let's now first focus on creating a material shader for our satin. Click that one and click this standard and change that standard shader to V-Ray material shader. Click this one and press OK. Now we are now ready to apply the texture that we are just created from Photoshop. Click this diffuse button. Okay, and double click this bitmap or OK, and browse for that file. Okay, so uh, I'm going to disregard this demo that we just created in Photoshop and use this original one instead. Okay, so I'm going to provide this in your download link under texture file folder. Okay, press open and individual layer, press OK. Okay, and now go to parent, click and drag over object. Okay, and go back to satin shader and click this show shaded material in viewport. Okay, now let's test render this texture. Enter. Okay, so I'm gonna stop this test render. Stop, and let's use this region render and click and drag over here. Okay, and let's zoom in into our rendered image by scrolling the middle mouse button. Okay, and as you can see here that this satin garment has a flat color, and it's very different from our original rendered image. Okay, as you can see here, so I'm gonna view the actual size, and this render has a vibrant and dark vibrant and strong color in it, while the surface turns its direction towards the camera over here. The color turns into a much brighter and dull color, in which the satin garment has this type of cloth properties. So how do we make such material shader for our object? Okay, so let's go back into 3ds Max and let's focus on this diffuse color. Click this material, and we are now seeing the properties of this texture file, pst file. Okay, and under this click this bitmap and choose this fold up and press OK, and keep all map as submap and press OK, and double click this material slot and open this background. Okay, and as we can see here now that it already has fall off material into it, and I want to use the same texture into this side. Okay, click this one and drag in here and copy and press OK. And to make that to give this a different color, we have to edit this one and retain the original color for this one. Click this one. Okay, and under output, let's give the RGB offset a value of negative zero point 0.5, and you will start that the texture in here start to change from vibrant to dull color. Okay, and let's close this first and test render. Okay, so I think we are doing it right. And one more thing, uh, I'm gonna take a look at this one, and we can now see here that the satin has also a bright uh, highlight white color in this one. Okay, so we have to put some shininess into our surface. Let's go back to 3ds Max and go back to parent, and once more go back to parent, and let's focus under reflection group, and let's double click this one, and let's open the color, click that, and try to drag this arrow uh, all the way to the white, and it gonna gives the surface some reflection on it. Okay, so we don't need such strong reflection to our surface, so we just need to put this arrow just at the gray color and press OK. But the problem is it has a sharp the reflection has a sharp vision. Okay, so we have to blur it using this reflect glossiness. Put a value of zero point 0.7 in it. It's gonna blur the reflection. Okay, and if you take a look up close into this material shader, you may see some grainy dark spots in here. And if you are going to render a high resolution of our scene, uh, you're gonna see these grainy dark spots in it. So for us to smooth that out, we have to enter a value of under subdivision to around 16 or 24. So uh, while I'm changing this value, let's watch over here to see the changes that will going to happen in here. Okay, so I'm gonna put a value of subdivision to 24, and it will start to smooth those grainy uh, dark tiny spots in here. Okay, and it won't show up in your rendering anymore. Okay, and now let's unlock this highlight glossiness and give it a value of zero point 0.9, and it starts to show a highlight into our material shader. But this highlight is only applicable for glass and plastic, and since the our object is a satin garment, we have to put a value of zero point 0.7 in here, and it gonna turns the highlight into a bright softer and wide broader size. Okay, and now let's close this one and test render once more. Okay, so we are done with the texturing. We are done giving it some highlight, and I'm gonna zoom in here. And one more thing we just need to add is to put some bump effect on this design pattern in here, just like this one. So I'm gonna scroll this closer. Okay, so you can see here now that this pattern has some kind of surface lift lifting up of this surface, and it has a nice bump effect on it. So how do we create this kind of material effect as well as in here into our red garments. It has some roughness in it, and as well as the patterns in here has some kind of a bump effect. Okay, so let's go into Photoshop, and this is what I am talking about earlier, the bump folder. Close the diffuse and bump. Okay, so basically the bump texture is the black and white version of this diffuse color. So I'm gonna turn on the bump, and let's take a look close in here, and let me explain this to you. So the black area would keep the surface. If you apply this texture bump map into our object, the dark area would just keep the surface totally flat, while the white part would give such a bump effect onto our surface. And as you can see here that we have a middle gray color, it gonna lift up the surface just at the middle between the dark and the what you call this white color. Okay, and as you can see here that this this surface in here is a random color ranging from black to middle gray color up to white, pure white, and it gonna gives the surface a roughness. Okay, and okay, and now upon opening this file, this original diffuse texture file, you just have to save this one as png file. So shift control s and png, and here it is. Okay, I already saved a png file format for this bump texture, so I'm gonna cancel this one and go back to 3ds Max, and let's focus on, we are still in a material shader for satin, and under maps group we have here a bump group. Click this none and browse for that bump texture file. So here it is. I'm also going to provide this inside your texture file. Okay, just use that one and press open and go to parent, and let's test render in here. Click and drag and test render. Okay, and you may see that the bump value is has a too much effect on this surface. So what you need to do is lower down the value to 3. Okay, and render, and it's gonna give a reasonable bump effect to our texture in here. Okay, so we are now finished with the satin garment. The next thing we need to do is to focus on creating material shader for the red garment. Okay, so go back to parent, and here in red garment, click that one, and I also want to change the standard shader to V-Ray material shader, and press OK. Okay, and set aside it here, and apply the same material into our diffuse button, and double click the bitmap, and here it is, dress diffuse. Okay, press open, and individual layer, press OK, and go to the top and show shaded material in viewport, and it's gonna show the materials into our viewport. Just click the turbo smooth off and turn this on. Okay, so that it would fix the texture coordinate. Okay, and let's give some roughness into our red garment, 0.25, and head back to maps section, and under maps section let's apply the same material that we just applied into a satin. Bitmap, and here it is. Go to parent and lower down the value for the map, 5. Okay, and test render. Okay, so I think we just did it right, and now I want to test render all of this object. Okay, turn off the region render and click render. Okay, so here's our latest result, and let's zoom in into this render, and you may see that it has a nice roughness into our garment. Okay, so that completes our topic for this video, and in this video we are going to create the eyes, eyebrows, and eyelashes and apply a material shader into it. Okay, so see you in the next video.